So I'm a perfumer, but I'm also an obsessive collector of scent memories. And for the last year, I've written surveys and emails and interviewed people from all over the world in an effort to answer some pretty burning questions about what it is that I do, which are, is the sense of smell even important? And does it matter? And if we don't take it seriously, if we think of it as something decorative, does that matter? So I basically followed these memories like breadcrumbs. And what I found really fundamentally changed the way that not only that I approach my work, but the way that I see the sense of smell and its importance in our lives. And so I'd like to start by sharing with you one of these memories that I received from a 40-year-old woman. And she said, "The day after my 13th birthday, my mother died of cancer. And outside of her bedroom window, my father planted a lilac bush. It was her favorite flower. And later on, when I was in my 20s, I was going through a really difficult time. And as I lay there on my bed, crying, I started to smell the scent of lilacs. And she said it was impossible. There were no flowers around me. There were no flowers outside of my apartment. But in that moment, it was as if my mother was holding me to her again and telling me everything was going to be okay." And I cried when she told me this, because we all have memories like this. And doing this research has made me realize that. Memories that are big and sad, or beautiful and joyful, about things, people, and experiences that mean something to us and that can be brought back in an instant with one single breath. So let's get into the mechanics of this a little bit. And it's a really old perception that humans have a poor sense of smell. I'm sure we've all heard this. And that's true from one perspective. We do, in relation to animals, have fewer olfactory receptor genes. But what science is starting to support is that we actually have a fairly advanced sense of smell. The sheer number of genes doesn't really predict olfactory prowess. But what happens when we smell something? Well, when we smell something, our brains process this in a really unique way. Because instead of going to the cerebral cortex, which is where we process language and judgment, smells go to the limbic system. This is where we store long-term memories and emotions. And this is why, and I'm sure we've all experienced this, it's really hard to identify the name of a smell immediately when you smell it. And it's also really, our memories that are triggered by smell are really powerful because they're long-term emotional memories. So this is pretty interesting. But what gets more interesting is that even though we're not aware of how smell affects us on a day-to-day level, consumer product companies are. And a lot of these memories that I started to get were about products like these. So one man's story was about the first time that his girlfriend came to visit him when he was only 19 years old. And he said, when she visited, she had this very specific smell about her, and I'll never forget it. And it reminded me, even after she left, how much she loved me. Well, what was the smell that he'll never forget? It was Tide detergent. So, okay, no shame. How many of us use or have a scent memory associated with Tide? I have one too, it's okay. Yeah, okay, a lot of us, right? That is because Tide is the best-selling detergent in the US by a margin of more than 2 to 1. And according to Procter & Gamble, the smell of Tide, a big part of its appeal, is a citrus, fruity, and floral experience. These are not random components. The smell of citrus strongly correlates to cleanliness. Sweet, fruity smells increase feelings of comfort, and floral scents evoke maternal love and care. So this is a powerful combination of factors that they're hitting on here. Here's another memory from a 54-year-old woman. And she said, the other day at the grocery store, I ran into this person with this very familiar smell. And it really brought back my childhood, and I had to think for a minute, but I realized it was Downy fabric softener. And my mother always used Downy when I was growing up, and it made me think of her and how she kept everything so nice and clean. What do you think of when you think of clean? Do you think of taking care of the people you love, taking care of your belongings? Well, the smell of clean and the idea of moral character are so inextricably linked that it can actually make us behave better if we're placed in environments that smell like cleaning products. In a recent study, people were more willing to volunteer or donate money to charity if the room that they were in was sprayed down with citrus-scented Windex. Note to all of you doing fundraising out there. Don't tell them I told you that. So obviously this started to make me think of these things very differently. And so I started to think, okay, well, if I'm a consumer product company, what are the things that I'm looking to do? I'm launching a new product. I know that I need to hit on these deep emotional cues. I know that these cues need to be about cleanliness and care and success. Studies have also revealed that people like a new product better if they already know what it's supposed to smell like. It's not a foreign smell to them, and if it smells strong. So I'd do pretty well for myself if I went and made something like this. Smell like the lifestyle you deserve. So this is a real product line. And I hope that you're seeing this with a fresh perspective. Right? These take scents from products we already know, like Downy and Febreze. They add double the fragrance, and they use loads of marketing cues about luxury and care and cleanliness and success. And this gets us to the core of the issue, which is that just like industrial processed food, we are being marketed and sold industrial processed smells. And these smells are in everything. They're in every detergent, candle, bar of soap, deodorant we buy. And we're not necessarily aware of this fact, but they are engineered to hit these emotional chords. They are engineered to play on our insecurities and our longings, and most importantly, they are engineered to cover up everything else. So what happens when, like the Febreze campaign slogan, Febreze for everywhere you breathe, what happens when everywhere you breathe smells like Febreze? These products are creating our memories. They're shaping our behavior. They're catalyzing our brains to want more of the same homogeneous smells over and over again. In fact, when you smell one of these products you identify with, your brain is lighting up in the area responsible for reward recognition. This is the area that lights up in drug users when they're anticipating using their drug of choice. I don't believe that things have to be this way. I think when you know how powerful your sense of smell is, you have the right to question these smells. You have the right to ask, do they have the unique capability to create your core memories? Do they nourish you? Do they have the authenticity of your life? Or are they covering them up? So, as our last breadcrumb, I'd like to leave you with a scent from the writer Pat Conroy that inspired him to write all of his works. And he said, I would say, breathe. And you would breathe and remember that smell for the rest of your life. The bold, fecund aroma of the tidal marsh, exquisite and sensual. The smell of the South in heat, like new milk and spilled wine, all perfumed with seawater. Thank you.